Okay, so at the beginning I mentioned that the title glottal compression was a little misleading, and it is, and here's why. It implies that all of our air is being compressed at the glottis, the vocal folds or cords themselves, and so we're going to just kind of put the scissors down and stop that air from coming across and whatever happens. In fact, we're going to talk about glottal stops in a minute because it's related to this, and I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, so glottal compression is actually the idea, at least the way that I have developed it over time is that I actually mitigate or control air in the lung, and also when I go to allow a certain amount of air to happen in the throat, I'm actually controlling that amount of air via the glottis, but also via the amount of compression that I'm using in the lung itself, okay? So in other words, I can sit here right now and I can squeeze my lungs right this second, and I'm not really squeezing much in the glottis, a little bit. Or I can do both. I can hold my breath completely and I could talk to you like this. In fact, I encourage you to practice this and practice it to where it doesn't feel like you're choking off the throat. So practice it like this, where right now I'm talking to you with glottal compression, or sing songs lightly, right? Where you're literally compressing the air, but you're actually not over singing or feeling sort of this force major in the throat. Okay, very, very important, because this is going to go out to you rock guys out there, because everybody wants to get to distorted compression. I want it and I want it now. Well, that's not a safe way to do it. We want to develop this over time. So how we can safely do this is, yes, we're going to belt. And we're going to spit out some notes, and it's rock and roll or whatever, or pop and roll or whatever you do, country, whatever, right? However, when we do this, we can, again, control how much air we're going to use. So if we're going to, born in the USA, right? I can actually cut back my air. In fact, I encourage you guys, I have a lot of different videos. One is, one specifically on YouTube right now that's, called distortion, one that's called hyperglottal compression, and some other stuff. And you can check out some of the different levels or variance degrees of this kind of compression. I'm not going to take the time to do that here because I want to start with the embryonic stages of how to grow it, not show you how awesome Ken Tamplin, goes straight to heavy distorted sounds, okay? So, but what we really want is tone. We want tone first. Tone is king. We don't want to just spit out notes and sound like we're, growling at you. Stuff, right? So what we want is we can lean into this sound, and we can start on an ah vowel. Just kind of push into the sound just a little bit, and you can feel it kind of close down in the glottis. Control the air. Remember, hold your breath, just like you're, there was an old analogy that was used a long time ago that I related to. I haven't done drugs since I was 14 years old, straight up. But I remember when I did, back in the day, you'd take a hit off of a joint, and you'd talk to somebody and say, hey, how's it going? Oh, pretty good over there. And you're holding your breath because you took this hit off the joint, but you're talking to somebody. Well, it's a very crude and sort of immoral analogy, but it actually is effective in those that can relate to that, can understand what I mean by that. Now, that's important to not only use that as an analogy, and I used one about talking underwater. In fact, I talk about that in my course here, is think of it like you're underwater, and you have to control or manage the air, and you're talking to somebody underwater, but you can't give up the breath. So you'd say, hey, Johnny, how's it going? Pretty good, man. What's going on? Not bad, dude. That's, I'm over here and I'm underwater and I'm talking to you right now. And if I give up my breath, I'm going to suffocate, or I'm going to lose my breath and I'm going to drown. That's what I meant to say. So tell me what's been happening. Well, this is what's going on. So with the concept of controlling that much air, let's continue. Allah. Hear me hold my breath. You can start to slowly lean into that sound. Now, if you don't have that much distortion kind of naturally building up in your voice, please don't go straight to that. Please don't. This is an extreme sport. Don't go straight to hyperglottal compression. You probably will hurt yourself. So bear with me, grow with me. We'll get resonance together. We'll make this thing rock. Now let me give you a couple of examples of varying degrees of this, right? Let's say I want to go, yeah, yeah. I just want to do that one line. Let's say I do it real clean. Yeah. I'm going to add a little more compression, and I'm going to lean into it a little bit more. Yeah! And you're like, yeah! Kind of cool tone coming in, right? I'll lean in it to a little bit more. Yeah! Again, you hear me cutting back the air? Here's a little bit more. Yeah! Right? Here's a little bit more. Yeah! Right? Here's a little bit more. Yeah! Here's a little bit more. Yeah! Right? Now, if you, again, watch a couple of my videos, like I'm doing this kind of scream thing, right? What you'll notice is that you can actually get, by the way, go to, I think it's called hyperglottal compression or contemplative distortion. Look it up on YouTube. You can see me sort of walk through these varying degrees of distortion. Well, I never teach anybody how to get there because it's a real complicated process like this, and I want you guys to identify, do this in stage. And by the way, notice I'm not going, I can't talk. No, because I know how to compress the air. But if I did growl or scream, or if I over distorted my voice, like even Dio or Cornell or Coverdale or any, whomever, you're on Land or Nathan James, a new guy, all these different people, what you'll find is that when you use this sound, you're actually able to use it, and then the next day we come back and we clean up the voice. We never train with a distorted sound. We only train with a clean sound. The distortion comes along for the ride when we lean into the sound, and we can practice that separately. But it is extremely important to come back and clean up the sound so that when we're not forever sentencing ourselves to a distorted tone. We have varying degrees of what we can use in our toolbox, but we keep good vocal health. Now, what happens with most people is when they go to a distorted sound, they rely on that sound to get to a note. No, we rely on a clean sound to get to a note, and then we introduce or integrate the idea of this sort of distorted sound and come in for the ride, along for the ride. All right, let's continue.